Hi everyone, hope you're all having a fantastic day so far. So in this presentation today, I'm going to be talking about the art of high performance. Now, quick content here. So this is going to be talking about the state of our current world, defining what high performance is, talking about the four different pillars that I think are required for high performance, and also going to be highlighting a summary for you as well. Now, just some quick sort of like housekeeping rules. Very important for you guys to take active notes if you can, because again, it keeps the mind fresh and going. In addition to that, respect each other's company and all of those different things there, because again, when we work together, we grow together as well. In addition, if you got any questions, again, feel free to throw it out to Sister Nashe, and or you can pass it on to me outside of this presentation. Please do not record this. Again, this is also been recorded, so you don't need to do that yourselves. And again, to respect everyone's time, please make sure that you go on mute. Now let's get into the presentation. Now, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Michael Tabirade, high performance coach and mentor, and I help self-starters and ambitious professional millennials increase their productivity, enhance their performance, realize their priorities, and live their life on purpose. Now, I've been working in the public sector, specifically within the NHS, for the past 11 years, but currently right now, I'm an independent consultant in the public sector. Okay, so currently working for the Department of Health, doing my own thing as an independent contractor. But in addition to that, I also like to volunteer for the NHS as a coach and mentor, and also embark on graduate action learning sets, as well as 360 leadership facilitation. I'm also an author of 4 books, and I'm ILM, EMCC, and ICF trained as a coach, and typically speak on topics such as self-management, leadership, and authentic living. Now, we know what this is. This is the infamous COVID-19 virus that has literally been diminishing our lives and keeping us locked up, not really being active, and making us think about our situation. But it's in these situations where we really start thinking about, what is it that I want to do? Who is it that I want to be? Where are the mistakes that I've made? What do I like and what do I dislike? And so we're forced to think about things differently. We know about Brexit, okay? So Brexit is a situation where this country, i.e. the United Kingdom, has stated that, you know what? We don't want to be part of this big union, so to speak. We want to do our own thing. We want to break away from you guys. But with that in mind comes consequences. With that in mind comes different conditions that we have to adhere to. And the performance of our country is very much dependent upon the relationships that we keep. Something that we can think about for ourselves. When we think about the late George Floyd that got murdered in the streets of the US, we think about the social equality and the equity and the diversity inclusion that is not very much apparent in our very patriarchal, very much distributed to a certain race sort of world. I said that in a very diplomatic way. But this is another way of saying that for those of us who are technically ethnic minorities, we face a different battle, okay? Not to say that other minorities or other races or ethnicities or groups don't face different battles, but this really highlights and exposes those different things. There was also this study done by Oxfam back in 2016, I believe, where it stated that I think it was only 6 people owned more than 50% of the world's poorest population. That's crazy. I mean, we live in a world where Jeff Bezos owns $203 billion US. Can you imagine? So with that in mind, it says something about the distribution of our wealth, the distribution of access, and the distribution of opportunities. We also think about technology. Okay, so we've seen the rate of technology just double. And there was this whole idea of Moore's law stated in 1965, which stated that a computer's processing power doubles every 18 to 24 months. Astonishing. If you think back at the latest, or the first ever iPhone, I believe, I think it was around 2004, 2006, around that time. Look what we've got to right now, generation 14. The phone is pretty much a small CPU, a small computer that is able to do all these amazing things. Again, the performance of this has doubled every single year and a half or 2 years. And also we think about our current planet. Are we living efficiently? Are we living to a high performance? Are we in a situation where, how we fuel our energy is of an ethical nature, but also in the most efficient manner too? As this picture says, no planet B. We want planet A, okay? So we want things to be done in the right way. I know Elon Musk is trying to do some stuff where we go to Mars, potentially, or some of us go there. But why not be here, where we have the opportunities to make things work? So these are all different things we can start thinking about. And so when thinking about high performance, I start to think about different leaders in society. Some of you may be familiar with some of these people, like Martin Luther King or Boris Johnson or Gandhi or whoever it may be. And whether you agree with their sort of like more challenging parts of their characteristics or more positive parts of their characteristics, they perform to a high level, to a point where people recognize who they are. So we're going to talk about this element of what high performance is. So what is specifically high performance? What does it mean to be a high performer specifically? We hear a lot of people talk about this stuff. We know people like Brendan Burchard has popularized this idea. And there are books like Coaching for Performance by John Whitmore, who talks about performance, etc., etc. But what does it mean? So effectively, it is the act of doing tasks to a standard that is above average. That's my definition, at least. So it's doing things that is above a specific set standard or medium or rate. So if you're above that bar, then you're high performing, so to speak. But it begs the question, what is a high performance person, or who is a high performance person? What does it mean to be an actual high performance individual? Let's explore that in a bit more detail. So to me, again, essentially, this is a person who over time consistently does tasks to a standard that is above average, thus yielding above average results. And I think that's the additional. You yield above average results. Now, I don't necessarily believe in consistent peak performance, because reaching your peak all the time is a difficult thing to do. But high performance, that's a different story. That means you're within a range that is above average. And therefore that is resulted by or evidenced by the results that you keep. So if you're trying to lose weight, the result would be the amount of body fat that you lose, or the way you look in terms of your shape, or what you can fit into. If you're trying to make more money, then it's the amount of money that comes into your bank account. Maybe it's the lifestyle you start to adopt. If for you, success is around your relationships, then this is about the quality of how, you keep those relationships, how happy you are, etc., etc. So this is how I define a high performance person. Now, I've split these up into 4 different pillars, which I spoke about at the beginning in terms of the contents. So I'm going to talk about some of that stuff now. So the first one is audacious authenticity. What does that mean? Well, audacious means bravery and courage, and authenticity means something about genuineness or originality. Okay, as you can see with this brother right here on the screen. Now, we're in situations where we can't face our truth. We can't face our reality. Okay, there's this great book called The Lies We Tell Ourselves by Dr. Courtney, and essentially it talks about all these different ways in which we lie to ourselves. Rationalization, denial, polarization, creating mental filters, etc., etc. These are all things that we do because we don't want to face ourselves in the mirror and be truthful to what is actually in front of us. But it comes down to that sense of brutal honesty, because there is no such thing as high performance if you can't get down to the root and work that way, because there are going to be kinks in the system. That's effectively how it works. And so your job as an individual is to be brutally honest to self and look yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, what is it that I'm running away from? What is it that I'm afraid of? What is it that I don't want to do? Because what you say to yourself in front of the mirror is exactly how you express yourself. Okay, you either see yourself as the pawn on the chessboard or as the king, okay, or queen, depending on who you are. We know the queen runs the thing on the chessboard. So think about that for yourself. Think about what this means for you. What are you telling yourself? What are the beautiful lies you're telling yourself? Oh, I'm losing weight. Really? Oh, I'm eating healthily, but you went to McDonald's the other day. Oh, I've got a booming business, but you just have an Instagram account. You don't actually have a business. What lies are you telling yourself? What truths do you need to bring into your life? So if we explore this in a bit more detail, when you start to discover that authentic side of you, you're living in accordance to your values, i.e. the things that are important to you. And I know many people are fed up with me talking about this stuff, but it is true. That alignment to those important things is what will set you free, in a sense of making you more efficient to do the things you said you're going to do long after the feeling is on, because you're committing to that integrity. Okay, so values are what you deem as important. In addition, you discover sort of like these values through looking back at your life and really understanding what really happened. So what did you like? What do you dislike? What are you looking to compromise now based on the goal that you're trying to achieve? And based on this, you can define your sense of purpose, or at least define who you are becoming. Sometimes when people say, what is your purpose? I'm like, I have no damn clue. But when you say, who are you becoming? I know I'm destined to create an impact for individuals who are self-starters, who want to basically be somebody, who want to get out of the rut or hole that they've placed themselves in. So essentially, audacious authenticity is being your true self in order for you to grow as an individual. The next pillar is crystal clarity. Okay, so crystal being the analogy of something that is clear, and clarity is effectively really understanding or knowing or having that transparency in terms of what is happening. So this is something I've developed known as the productivity pyramid. And it starts with your daily actions and habits. And at the base of it all, whether you have a goal or not, your daily actions and habits determine your destination and your route, whether you like it or not. But if you have, again, a layer above that, sort of like objectives or outcomes or projects, these kind of steer you in a general direction, okay? You may not have a specific direction, but at least with objectives, they are mini aims that are attributed to metrics or goals or measurements that you're trying to achieve. So you've heard of SMART goals. I don't always sort of advocate for that. So that is specific, measurable, achievable, relatable, and time-bound. And there's also the E and R, which is smarter, environment friendly, and risk bound. However, it's important to have some sort of objective that you're working towards. But above that is your life area strategy. So for example, if you're looking at the Wheel of Life as an example, then here you're really sort of like thinking about what approach do I want to have. So when you think about strategy, it is about how you do something, or it's the approach towards doing that thing. But above that strategy, you must have some sort of vision. Okay, vision being the thing that actually sets the path before you've even seen it physically. You can see it in your mind's eye. And so you need that vision. But that vision is set by your values, which I spoke about before, the things that you deem as important. But underpinning all of that is who you're becoming, your purpose, okay? What you're being drawn by, what you're being attracted by or propelled by. So when you have these things in order, okay, it gives you a grounding that can't be shaken, okay? So when I spoke about life area strategies, this is an example of it. So this is known as the Wheel of Life. So this is a great example. And what you can do is effectively look at these different areas, let's say, for example, wealth, and decide out of 10 how you feel, you know, with wealth as an example. So maybe you feel a 5 out of 10. You describe what that looks like. But then after that, you start to think about what does a 10 out of 10 look like? And you describe that in colorful detail. You may want to do this with an objective friend. Once you've done that, then you can start developing a plan working backwards. And that's effectively how this works. You have to be able to do that. So again, I've spoken about this specifically. You may want to do this for hallmark experiences that you've had, okay? Things that have been really astounding in your life. You know, for example, that you've had money issues. So you know you don't want to go down that road again. The value attributed to that is security. So maybe the money issues was a 5 out of 10, but you know you need to have, let's say, for example, income protection, or you need to make sure that you have a pension or a will to prevent all those atrocities, if I said that right, from happening again. That's one thing you can do. That's one way you can get a sense of clarity, at least with the life strategy area. Another thing you can do is reflection and review. So we need to get to a point of evaluation. And the way that we increase our self-awareness is through qualitative and quantitative information that we're exposed to on a regular and rhythmic basis. So here I'm talking about daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual review. Am I saying you must do this? No. But what I am saying is, if you have an element of, let's say, weekly review and or monthly review, then you have a pattern where you can look back and say, this is what I've learned, this is what I haven't learned, this is what I need to do going forward. There's no point in me reading all of this stuff out. You can see it for yourself. But the point being made here is that there is a rhythm and structure being developed. You can decide to do this in a book, in a journal if you want to, or if you're more techno savvy, you can use things like Notion, such as I do, to create an elaborate sort of like set of pages or boards that all link up together, up to all these other devices as well, to keep you on target and on point with what you're looking to do as well. Okay, really important. I would say at a bare minimum, it'd be useful if you can to do a weekly, quarterly, and annual review. And if you can't do weekly, maybe monthly. If you can't do monthly, maybe bi-weekly. But I think the weekly and the monthly give you some sort of stretch zone. With the daily reflection, you may ask yourself 1, 2, or 3 questions, okay? So a question may be something like, you know, who did I help today? Okay? How much money did I make today? Was it a healthy day today? Again, going back to Brendan Burchard, he uses this whole, did I live, did I love, did I matter? Based on experience that he had, you know, back when he was 18 or 19, I think it was a car accident or whatever it may be. So think to yourself, how are you getting that rhythm of reflection and review in your life? Because again, if you don't have this level of understanding, you are never going to understand self. And if you don't understand self, you can't move forward in a direction that is knowable, okay? Because at the base of it all, we are related to an infinite intelligence that is so divine that if we don't understand it, we'll never be able to tap into that power. That's who we are. We're part of everything, and everything is part of us. We need to believe that, whether we're religious or not, whether we're philosophical by nature or not. That is the truth. So if we move on from this, again, this is all still part of crystal clarity. There is this understanding that people make the difference. What do I mean by this? Accountability buddies. Do you have someone that you can sit down with on a bi-weekly basis, either by phone, Zoom, or face-to-face, and you can talk about 3 main objectives or tasks that you're trying to fulfill within a year, and really talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and what were your lessons learned? Will you have an hour each? Will you really dive in? I've done that for 4 years plus, and I'm telling you, that has been a fundamental way for me to progress because I have someone I'm accountable to. There's also this idea of mastermind groups, okay? So having, let's say, 3 to 10 different individuals, so I have 8 in mind, where you exclusively sit down for about 2 to 3 hours, talk about what everyone's doing for 15 minutes each, and you spur each other on, you give each other advice, you motivate each other, you hear what they're doing, you get spurred on and inspired to do more. And because of that motivation, i.e. that energy and motion, you're in a state where you actually do more. Imagine those different hits of motivation you get again and again and again and again and again because you have people who are making the difference. There is also this idea of having a mentor or a coach or a supervisor or a counselor or some sort of therapist or consultant or trainer. These are all opportunities to learn from someone who has walked the path that you're trying to walk, or at least has the skills to get you moving forward. So for example, a coach, i.e. myself, is a person that helps you help yourself. I help you understand how to learn so that you can solve problems. If you're a mentor, I'm experienced in a field that enables you to get the information that you require and validates a way of thinking so you know what path to walk. There are different people who need different things. You need to understand what you need for yourself. Sometimes this stuff is paid, sometimes the stuff is not paid. But again, you need to understand what you require. Okay, because again, whether we like it or not, people make the difference. So that was crystal clarity. We moved on to pillar 3, considered communication. What does this mean? Really understanding your approach towards how you communicate as an individual. Let's dive into it. So again, be clear on your values and your beliefs, because again, your values are what you deem as important. Your beliefs are effectively assumptions that you hold to be true based on your past. That's what are beliefs, okay? So there's this idea of introjection. So this is effectively where significant people who have come into your life over the years, so teachers, parents, partners, siblings, friends, have put all these shoulds onto you. And so you started to believe these things. You've been conditioned based on the schemas and the scripts and everything else that have come into your mind. And me took myself out there that told you a certain story. You're telling yourself a story all the time. So when it comes to communication, you need to be able to balance a certain level of EQ, i.e. emotional intelligence. And again, you can read up more about this by a guy called Daniel Coleman. I believe he developed this term back in 1996, but again, I may be wrong with the dates. You can check out this guy. And he talks about the science all behind what emotional intelligence is. You also have to be able to focus on what people do and find something that you love talking about, okay? Why do I say these two things? If you can see what people are doing, you actually follow their behaviors and attitudes and tone of voice or whatever it may be, you can understand people better and also yourself. But in addition, if you can find something that you enjoy, then again, you can talk about it. Look at me, I'm just talking about this. I didn't practice this at all. I just did the slides and went with it because I know my material, I know my stuff. The other thing is, try to get into a position of becoming an expert in something. That gives you that je ne sais quoi factor, so to speak, where you can educate, entertain, and empower. So for those of you who are on, the social media such as Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, etc., becoming a real expert is where you can educate people, like what I'm trying to do right here, entertain people, maybe you're a bit savvy or jokey or whatever it may be, but empower people, inspire them, invigorate them to move beyond what they're doing. That's what a great communicator does. But you also have to understand your style. So I know for me, I can be jokey here and there, but I'm informative by nature. I can come across quite professional as well because I have sometimes that Mufasa voice, so to speak, and I have this, funny sort of jokey Dr. Hibbert laugh. I can kind of play on that a little bit. So really understand what your communication style looks like. And again, I spoke about emotional intelligence here. So emotional intelligence is usually split up into the self and the social, but also this idea of what I'd call awareness and management. So what do I mean by that? So when it comes to the self bit, there is this self-awareness. How do you get self-awareness? This is usually through doing tests, okay? People telling you about yourself, you doing the review and reflection that I spoke about before, etc., etc. And really understanding what your self-esteem and confidence looks like. The self-management bit is really getting to a point of knowing how to respond in different situations and not getting distracted, being able to manage your mind. There's this whole idea of emotional agility, okay? So in emotional agility, it says that if you experience an emotion, okay, you need to quantify specifically what emotion you're feeling. So you may be feeling anger and frustration, but really the emotion that you're feeling is fear. So once you've labeled that, you should then accept that's what you're feeling, accept it for what it is, because you pacify it. And then once you've accepted that, you then decide how you want to act based on your values. That's what emotional agility is. Let's move on to the social bit. So you got social awareness. This is really understanding how people are moving, understanding culture, understanding how, different things work in different environments. But the social management or the relationship management, as they call it, may be around how you manage your friendships, your leadership style, all of those different things, how you facilitate, how you influence, etc., etc. These are all really important things to consider and remember when it comes to your personal emotional intelligence. So that was that. That was considered communication. And what I would say to that is, when it comes to considered communication, as a coach, I have to be a great communicator. I need to adopt things like active and deep listening, empowering and effective questions, inner supervision, so understanding how my nuances and intricacies act in correlation to what's being said. I need to be able to be non-directive and slightly directive at the same time. These are all things to think about. So when it comes to communication, really get to a level of understanding A, what you do as an individual, but B, how you can improve. So the next step is voracious vitality. So here, this is talking about having a real sort of like life-giving energy to your spirit and what you're doing. So I split this up into mind, body, spirit. The mind being the control center for the body, but connects to the spirit. The spirit being the thing that is eternal and does not get destroyed. The body being the vehicle that we use to experience in this bodily or human experience. And the spirit being the thing that activates it all, that really understands divine infinite intelligence, but again, can only be tapped into if the mind and body is one. So let's get into that. So again, with the mind, what do? You need to know self. So I spoke about this for the emotional intelligence part. But the mind is like a tree, okay? So it grows based on the conditioning of our environment and how we foster that stuff. Take time to be still through prayer, meditation, fasting, etc., etc. Because again, this enables us to really know our mind and really know self. To be present is to be still, and to be still is to really be present. What that really means is that not getting distracted by past and future, but only adopting what is. Okay? Getting close to nature enables us to be closer with our sort of mindset. The mindset being our established set of attitudes that we have. We have to take time to socialize with different people because, again, that improves our mind. Being in a situation of lockdown has been very difficult to maintain a healthy mind. So with that in mind, so to speak, it's important to socialize with people so we can foster new energies and environments. Again, I've spoken about coaching and therapy as being possible solutions. So therapy being a thing where it helps you cope in a specific situation, whereas coaching is more defined towards achieving a specific goal in life, helping you help yourself. But they use very similar principles as well. But also for your mind, it's important to make sure that you adopt rest. So time blocking exercises is vital for making sure that you not only do work where you need to do work, but you rest where you need to rest as well. Again, we've got the body. So this is really important. This is not brain science, but do you understand your intolerances? Do you understand your allergies? Do you understand your genetics? It's very simple, guys. Go online, go and get an intolerance test for like £40 or £50. If you want to do allergy and intolerance, you can do that for, let's say, £100 to £150 plus, depending on what you're doing. If you want to spend that money, that's on you. I mean, you can do it the old school way where you try different things and do the whole diary thing, but you need to understand your body. I realized that when I was, lactose intolerant or whatever it may be, that really affected my moods, that affected my output. I couldn't do things to a high performance, etc., etc. So I realized if I cut this stuff out, I'm going to be going harder for longer, so to speak. I don't want to exhaust my body, but I know I can do more because it's more genuine based on the vitality of my body. Also understand your body, your body sort of ratios in terms of muscle and fat, okay? So maybe you want to go to the gym to measure this or, get some special scales or whatever it may be, or get a nutritionist. These are all things you can do to understand your body ratio. And there's this idea of transgenerational habits where we say, I'm this way because my parents are this way or X, Y, and Z. Yes, it is because of them, but that's because of transgenerational habits, not because it's genetic. All of this, it's not genetic. Yeah, we may be more predisposed to different things. Don't get me wrong. And I don't want to take that away, but we can, change our lifestyle and our cultures in such a way where we can be more healthy. But you need to make that decision. They say in coaching that if you're not willing to change, change does not happen. It doesn't happen because of the coach. It's because the individual is willing to change. So think about that in mind. Think about how you can sort of have a diet that is low in carbs, so to speak, potentially, because again, too many carbs acts as basically pumping sugar into your body, where effectively that is making you more lethargic, more tired, more weak. It's causing necrosis in your cells, etc., etc. Are you adopting the right level of exercise each day? 7 minutes. That's what they recommend. 7 minutes at least a day of, HIIT exercise, high intensity. I think it's training, so to speak. What are the things that you're doing? Are you getting your steps in? So I don't have my watch now, but I have a watch, a Samsung watch, which tracks my steps, my sleep, etc., etc. So I'm much more conscious of my movements as well. And also thinking about how can you review this stuff? How can you supplement your body in such a way where it is at peak not peak performance, high performance, so to speak. And again, spirit, that's a difficult one. But for those of you who are religious, maybe it's rather than just being religious, so to speak, and practical, are you really connected in a deep way to the spiritual aspects of your religion? Are you connected with people on a deeper level? Are you having in-depth conversations? Are you reading books that open up your mind to a different dimension of spirituality? Are you trying new experiences that explore and implode and explode the sensations and stimuli in you so that you can have a real experience on this planet Earth? Are you, devoting yourself to self-care days each month or each week? What are you doing? What are you doing to activate the spirit? Because many of us are just mind-body, but we forget the spirit. The spirit is the thing that activates truly the mind-body connection. Some of you may be familiar with different chakras. So you got red, orange, I think it's yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Maybe too much for you guys here, but as an analogy, the whole idea is that if you're doing things that are very humanistic or animalistic by nature, it's very root chakra, it's very sort of red ray energy. But what we need to do is at least get to green ray, where it's about focusing on spreading love, contribution, helping others, and moving to points where it's more societal, more holistic by nature, and more spiritual by nature. Whether you are religious, philosophical, or spiritual or not, these are all things that we can do to improve. So that was Voracious Vitality, and really to sort of like create some summary points here. Number one is to build your life on the foundation of your values. That's what we talk about when we talk about audacious authenticity. Number two, plan and review your actions daily, or at least weekly, to a point where you have that crystal clarity. Number three, communicate clearly with yourself and with others. So do you understand yourself? I mean, I know Nashe speaks about the Johari window and how you can sort of like improve your sort of like understanding of self. Here we're talking about really making sure that not only do you understand yourself, but you can communicate with others effectively as well. And number four, how do you prioritize your mind, body, and spirit through voracious vitality? I chose those words specifically for a reason. And again, for those of you who might feel to copy this, don't, but you can use it for yourself, okay? So let's move on. So again, obviously, this session is for you in terms of recording and stuff, but effectively, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask Nashe and or myself, via different platform in order to get those questions answered. If you want to find out more about me, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Michael Tabirade. So I talk about this stuff extensively or for free. You can also join my Mastery Academy via Mighty Networks. So if you go to Mighty Networks and type in Mastery Academy, you can check it out there. But also, if you want to book an initial coaching session with me, then feel free to do that. And what I haven't done, and maybe on the next slide, there is this, I have got this web link called Shorby, so shor.by/Michael Tabirade. That's where you can find everything on me. And I'm sure Nashe will throw those into the links as well. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this presentation on how to actually get high performance. Take care, God bless, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.